What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Celio's Network. Today continues my coverage of the Latin America International Championships, and today we're going to be looking at the most popular decks that were played at the LAIC this past weekend. Before that, I just want to tell you all about PotownStore.com, where you can buy Pokemon TCGO codes and they're instantly emailed to you, and you can use code Celio for 5% off of your order there. And also flipsidegaming.com. You can buy anything, cards, supplies, sleeves. And I also have code Celio, all caps, for 10% off of any order, $10 or more over there. So getting into the most popular decks at LAIC, we're going to be looking at what the 5 most played were. There were 758 Masters in day 1. And the most played archetypes were ADP, which is Arceus Dialga Palkia, usually aside from Keldeo GX, MEWTWO and Mew tag team variants, Malamar variants, GARDEON tag team, and PIDGEOTTO control. We're going to start from the bottom up with PIDGEOTTO control. There were 48 of this deck played. That's a 6% meta share. So looking at its previous success, what might have led it to being played so much to have it in the top 5 decks, it was the second place deck at both Atlantic City Regionals and Cologne Regionals. It got top 8 at Worlds. It's been a deck for a few months now, and it did have a lot of hype going into this tournament. It was thought to be an oppressive and almost unstoppable deck. People were looking at Belelba and Bryson Man as a card that really shot the power level of this deck overboard. So 6%, it's not like a crazy amount, but I think greater than 5% is actually a very large share for any control archetype. Had this tournament been last week, I think it would have been closer to 10%, since players were still considering PIDGEOTTO like unbeatable and thinking about what could beat it. I saw plenty of complaints all around Twitter saying like Oranguru needs to be banned or Belelba and Bryson Man shouldn't have been printed. I was under the mindset that PIDGEOTTO control was not this unbeatable force. I had been arguing that its ADP matchup wasn't even better than 50-50, and I had players telling me that it was like free for PIDGEOTTO, and I just did not believe that, and I'm still standing my ground here. I don't think PIDGEOTTO is as good as players would have liked it to seem, because a lot of times players just look at how the deck looks on paper and they don't play it out enough, or they're not playing against refined lists, or they're just looking at the games they won, things like that. So PIDGEOTTO was in the top 5. It had a ton of hype. I think if players weren't getting off of the deck because of the hype and because they knew it would be countered, it could have seen even maybe close to 10%. Number 4 was GARDEON at 72 people playing it and almost 10% of the meta. So previously, it got top 8 and top 4 at Cologne Regionals, and it's had a handful of day 2 placements in the North American Standard Regionals as well. I really wouldn't say that GARDEON had hype going into LAIC, but I also wouldn't say that it was like thought to be like a 1% share. There was an expectation for it to have some play just because it hits ADP for weakness. But in my own testing, I didn't really think that was a great matchup anyway, but I did think the fairy weakness on ADP would just naturally cause people to play this card. As for it almost hitting 10%, I don't think anyone expected GARDEON to be this popular. I did not expect it to be this popular, and I'm already seeing reactions online about how was GARDEON this popular. It didn't seem like a great play for the meta. It doesn't seem like an inherently like unstoppable deck. Didn't seem like a comfort pick to me. Maybe it's different over in Latin America, but it was the 4th most played archetype of the weekend. Going into number 3, we've got Malamar variants. If you count Ultra Malamar or Ultra Necrozma Malamar as a different deck, then Malamar would actually drop down to 4th place and GARDEON would be 3rd. But I just grouped all Malamar variants together since I'm looking at it by archetype here. So previous success, it's had a ton of success in several different formats since Malamar has been a card. It got top 8 at Atlantic City Regionals. It was played a ton at both Atlantic City and Knoxville Regionals. And I would not say that there was an exuberant amount of hype surrounding Malamar variants. It did get some new cards from the new set, like the Psychic Blacephalon, and then the promo Trevenant Dusknor tag team. But I don't think it was being hyped up as a great deck. I actually saw a lot of people saying the opposite, like Malamar was a joke going into this tournament. But most people were cognizant of the fact that it would be played regardless of how well it was positioned and the public opinion on it. We talked about that a fair amount in the meta discussion on this channel just last week, that Malamar was going to be played no matter what, and so maybe expect to see one of them in your day 1 9 rounds. As for the meta share of 10%, I'm not surprised at all. It's a comfort pick, and it got some new tools from Cosmic Eclipse, like I mentioned, the Blacephalon, the MEWTWO with the ability, the Trevnor that's a promo. So I did not expect any different. Third most played seems right where I thought it would be, pretty much, for Malamar. MEWTWO and Mew tag team variants. 94 played, over 10%. This one is at 12%. The previous success, it has quite the resume. It won Worlds, it won Atlantic City Regionals, and it won Knoxville Regionals. Like Malamar, I don't think there was hype for this deck, but regardless of that, this is another archetype that I think any player moderately in tune with the meta expected to see it show up. It saw such a large amount of play because it's a tried and true archetype. Like I said, it won Worlds, it won AC Regionals, it won Knoxville Regionals. It has the potential to win a major event. It's people feel safe to play it and try to get points with it. It can overcome any new archetypes, which is a big deal because it has cards that can just blow up anything in its way. So it's really versatile, and I think players felt comfortable going into the tournament with a couple changes to old MEWTWO decks that they already knew how to play, and just hoping for the power level of copying any of your GX attacks to carry them through. Lastly, we've got the #1 archetype from the weekend, ADP, coming in at 95 played, which is roughly 12.50% of the day 1 meta. So, ADP is a brand new archetype. It did not have a chance to prove itself before this tournament, so there was really no previous success to go off of. It could have been a total flop. But the hype. So ADP started gaining a ton of hype in the past week, or the week leading up to LAIC. At first, the hyped card going into LAIC, or going into the release of Cosmic Eclipse, the hyped card was Reshiram and Zekrom Tag Team, and that card just kind of flopped once people started testing it. But ADP with Keldeo, it had a lot of coverage from multiple article sites and YouTube channels. I both published a video and an article on the deck, and it was talked about a lot in high regard in the meta discussion I had on this channel last week. Keldeo GX, the favorite partner for ADP, that's what everyone's been playing with it. It actually went up to $20+ on TCG Player at one point last week because there was a Keldeo GX buyout. And even that doesn't really talk to if the deck is good, but whenever there's a buyout of a card or a card price just spikes like that, you know that it's in high demand and everybody wants to get a hold of it in case they want to play this card. So ADP was the most played archetype, and that doesn't surprise me since it's a new flashy card. It has 3 legendary Pokemon on it. It has a crazy attack that lets you take more prizes for the rest of the game. And it had a lot of hype, like I said, from the internet, from Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, article sites. And a lot of solid players were backing it up online as the days progressed closer to LAIC. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video on the 5 most popular archetypes from LAIC. I'll be doing some more LAIC coverage and post analysis as the week goes on. So be sure to subscribe, like, and leave a comment if you enjoyed the video. Like I said at the beginning, check out Potown Store and FlipsideGaming.com. Use code CELIO, all caps at FlipsideGaming.com, and not case sensitive over at Potown, for 5% off at Potown and 10% off at FlipsideGaming.com. It saves you some money. They're great sites, and it also helps me out. I'll see you next time here on Celio's Network.